Welcome to the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Pluff. Each week, we will cover various topics that dads struggle with in their fitness journey. I'll give you actionable steps that you can apply right away, not only to take back control of your own health, but so you're able to be a better example for your kids too.
Why your wife is wrong. No, I'm just joking, but kind of. We'll dive into that a little bit. But welcome in to this week's episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about why you don't need your wife's permission to lose weight. Now, obviously, I work with dads specifically, and so a lot of times when I'm talking with my clients, with potential clients, with former clients, a lot of them tell me that their wife is uncomfortable when they get too skinny, right? And so like this comes across all the time. Like the first time I heard it, I thought, man, like that must be kind of rough. That must be kind of rough if your wife's not supporting you. You're trying to lose weight, you're trying to get in better health, you're trying to get in better shape, and your wife says, you know what, I don't like it when you're at 200 pounds. I'd like you to be closer to like 225. You're getting too skinny. And the first time I heard that, I was kind of like, man, wow, like that's rough. Like if I told my wife I want to lose weight, I want to get in shape, I want to start working out, she told me, I'm pretty happy with you right now, but I was unhappy. Like I'd feel kind of resentful, but unfortunately, I hear this all the time. I hear it literally like weekly when I'm talking with clients or potential clients on calls and stuff. And so it's like, it's kind of crazy to me. If my wife came to me and she said, man, I found this workout program, I'm starting to work out. I feel a little better. I'm not real happy with where I am right now. And I told her, like, I don't want you to get too skinny. Like, to me, that'd be a reflection of me, right? Cause it'd be the reason I would say that to her is because I'm uncomfortable. I'm not happy where I am, right? I'm not happy where I am. And so I'm trying to keep her from getting to where she wants to be because it makes me feel insecure. And so a lot of times, like, unfortunately, that's a tough conversation to have with your wife, right? If your wife is telling you, I don't want you to get too skinny. I don't want you to lose too much weight. It's probably because she's insecure about where she's at. And that's a tough conversation to have, right? Like, obviously, like, I'm not qualified to, counsel you or your wife, right? That's not my field. That's out of my scope of practice. But, I believe that's a conversation you need to have. I've had to have that conversation with my wife too. She tells me she likes things about me that I don't personally like about myself. And, I had to have that conversation with her, like, like that. I'm glad you like this, but I don't, right? It's kind of like your hair, right? If you like your hair cut a certain way and you're cutting it another way because somebody else likes it like that, or your wife likes it like that, are you really going to work that hard to keep it that way? Probably not, right? That's a simple example, but the same thing goes for weight loss, right? If you really want to lose weight, but your wife wants you to stay where you are, how hard are you going to work to stay where you are? Or if you do, are you going to be happy there? That's, to be honest, that's probably why a lot of people are unhappy, because they're making these decisions based off of somebody else's opinion. And unfortunately, that includes your wife, that includes your spouse too, right? There are a lot of things. My wife and I have a great relationship. We've actually been together since we were 15 years old. And so we've been, half my life I've been with my wife. And so, but we've had to have tough conversations on certain things. And I think that's really important. I think it's really important to have great communication. We communicate about everything, but there are certain things that if I want to lose weight or I want to gain muscle, that's not my wife's decision. If she wants to lose weight or she wants to gain muscle, that's not my decision. That's an individual decision, right? If I want to spend 6 months trying to get as shredded as possible, as long as it doesn't interfere with family obligations or my responsibilities as a dad, as a husband, as a provider, then I'm the one that makes that decision. If she wants to spend 6 months working out and seeing how much muscle she can put on, or if she wants to lose some weight. That's her decision, right? Now, if they come to you and ask their opinion, that's fine. They can share that, but ultimately, you are the one who makes that decision, and it's very, very common to have, maybe a spouse who isn't supportive. And when someone says like, oh, you don't need to work out, you're great the way you are, a lot of times they don't, not that they don't mean what they're saying, but they are saying it because they are insecure, and your success at times can make them feel bad about their own, right? If you're somebody who works out regularly or used to work out regularly, you've probably had somebody tell you like, why are you going to the gym all the time? Take a day off. You can rest and sleep in. Maybe you're starting a business. You probably hear this all the time, right? Why are you working so hard? It's good to rest. Typically, the people telling you that aren't as successful as you, or aren't as successful as you would like to be, right? If you're working hard for something, you're going to make people uncomfortable, but you don't help anybody by playing small. You don't help anybody by not living up to your potential, right? If you know that you could get in better shape, you got to do it. You got to do it, right? Because it's going to affect every area of your life. The better shape you're in, you're going to sleep better. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be a better dad. You're going to be able to play with your kids more. You're going to be a better husband. And I would much rather make my wife uncomfortable because I'm doing too much than to live comfortable or to make her comfortable because I'm not fulfilling my potential, right? When you play small, when you're not working hard to get to where you need to be, you're not helping anybody, right? You're going to make people uncomfortable the more successful you get, the more in shape you get. You're going to make people who maybe have been with you for a long time or have known you for a long time, when you decide to make a change, it's going to make them uncomfortable. And that's okay. That's okay. Because you can't control how they react to it, but maybe you're going to inspire them, right? How many biographies have you read of, famous, like Steve Jobs, or like founders like Phil Knight of Nike and all this? And you read their backstories and stuff, and it's inspiring, right? A lot of times you can get inspired by the people you interact with on a day to day, but we have more impact on them, right? And it scares us. It scares us because deep down, I think everybody knows they're capable of more. They just don't have the confidence. They don't feel like they have the resources. They don't have someone to push them, right? But I would much rather work hard every single day and inspire those around me to play a level up than to play small and keep everybody comfortable, because that's not going to help anybody, right? I'm working hard to create a business that I'm proud of. I want to help as many dads as possible. I want to get in great shape. And that's probably going to make people uncomfortable, right? People that I grew up with, maybe family members, other people who maybe aren't as ambitious right now. Doesn't mean they're not going to be. But I'm sure you know somebody who worked a career for 10, 15 years and they decided to start their own business or do something completely different. And you thought, well, what are they doing? They have it all. They have it all. But they weren't happy. They weren't happy, right? But your reaction to it says a lot more about you than it does them. And the same thing goes for when you're losing weight. The same thing goes when you're getting in shape. Your spouse's reaction to you wanting to lose weight, to you wanting to do better for yourself, to be better, to feel better, is more of a reflection of her than it is you, right? Imagine if, your wife dressed up, fixed her hair for you, and she went out to eat. She was going out with her friends or something like that, and she looked really nice. and you were a little uncomfortable when you asked her, like, well, why are you just saying you don't need to put makeup on? Are you telling her that because you think she's really beautiful without makeup? I'm sure you are. But part of you is probably also telling her that because maybe you're insecure, right? You're insecure. Maybe how you look, maybe how you feel, or that maybe she'll get attention from other people, but you can't control that, right? That's tough. I get that. That is tough. But maybe that's some of the reason why she's telling you she doesn't want you to get too skinny. Like, just say that out loud real quick. Imagine if you told your wife, I don't want you to get too healthy. Like, nobody got too skinny on accident. It's like people who are afraid to go to the gym because they think they're going to get too muscular. Bodybuilders, professional athletes work out their entire lives. Do you think they accidentally got muscular? No. You're not going to get too muscular from going to the gym a few times a week, right? You're not going to get too skinny by dieting for a few months, right? By cutting calories, right? People yo-yo diet, jump in and out of diets for years trying to lose weight. You think you're going to get too skinny on accident? That's not how it works. A lot of times when people are telling you they don't want you to lose weight or you're fine just the way you are, it's because they are insecure with how they look. They are insecure with how they feel. And somehow they think it's a reflection of them if you start to have success, if you start to take steps towards where you want to be. And so I'm not saying don't have a conversation with your wife. I'm not saying don't have a conversation with your spouse on, your health goals, your fitness goals. You should absolutely have that conversation. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. It's your decision. It's your life.
That concludes this episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Thank you for those of you who took time out of your busy schedules to listen. If you have any questions or comments or an idea for a topic for a future episode, please feel free to reach out, and I'd love to hear from you.